I thought discipline was the end point. After 2 years, I could control my reactions perfectly, follow rules despite fear, execute under pressure. But I was exhausted after every session, couldn't sustain more than 4 hours. Then I watched a 15-year veteran trade for 9 hours straight. No visible effort, no fatigue. I asked him, "How do you maintain discipline that long?" He looked confused. "I don't maintain anything. It just happens." That's when I realized there are 3 distinct phases every master trader crosses. No exceptions, no shortcuts. And I was stuck between phase 2 and phase 3, not knowing phase 3 existed. Every trader who reached mastery, Paul Tudor Jones, Linda Raschke, Ed Sakota, or the profitable trader you've never heard of, they all move through the same 3 phases. Not different systems, not different personalities, the same progression. Phase 1 is mechanical, learning the game, everything conscious, slow, exhausting. Phase 2 is subjective. You're no longer fighting the market, you're fighting yourself. Discipline through effort, control through willpower. And then there's phase 3, intuitive, something different, something most traders never reach. This isn't theory. It's pattern recognition across decades of trader development, across markets, across styles, across personalities. You don't skip phases. You don't accelerate them artificially. You move through them at the speed your nervous system can adapt to uncertainty. And that speed is not negotiable. Now, let me show you what each phase actually looks like, and where most traders get permanently stuck. Phase 1 is where every trader begins. Not with confidence, not with intuition, with rules. Rigid, mechanical rules of execution. This phase isn't about trading well. It's about learning how to act inside a system you don't trust yet. What it looks like. Every decision is conscious, painfully conscious. You don't see trades, you interrogate them. Is this really my setup? Do all conditions match? Where exactly is my stop? What's my target? Am I missing something? Each question adds friction. Execution is slow. 30, 40 seconds, sometimes more, from first recognition to finally clicking the button. Not because the setup is complex, but because you are still involved. Rules feel external, like something borrowed, something imposed. They don't feel like your rules yet, so you second-guess them. What if this one fails? What if this time is different? What if I'm wrong? After 90 minutes of focused trading, you're done. Not physically tired, mentally exhausted. Every loss feels personal, like evidence that you don't really know what you're doing. Every win feels like relief, temporary proof that you might be competent after all. You're not trading probabilities yet. You're trading self-esteem. What's happening underneath? Your brain is building pattern recognition from scratch. There is no intuition yet, no shortcut, no internal feel. Everything routes through conscious thought, slow, energy-intensive, unstable. This is System 2 doing all the work, and System 2 is expensive. It burns attention, it burns glucose, it burns willpower. That's why this phase feels fragile. One distraction, one emotional hit, one unexpected loss, and execution collapses. Not because you lack discipline, but because nothing is automated yet. You're not failing. You're installing the skill. Duration. Observed across traders, across markets, 6 to 12 months minimum. Not because the material is difficult, but because repetition without dopamine is psychologically uncomfortable. Your brain wants novelty. Phase 1 demands sameness. How it ends. At some point, something shifts. You don't notice it immediately, but setups stop feeling unfamiliar. Recognition becomes faster. You stop asking if the pattern is valid. You start noticing when it appears. Rules feel less like constraints and more like default responses. Execution speeds up. You can trade 3, sometimes 4 hours before mental fatigue appears. Losses stop feeling personal. They register as information. Wins stop feeling like validation. They register as expected outcomes. You're no longer proving yourself. You're executing a process. The trap. This is where most traders sabotage the entire journey. They assume the discomfort means something is wrong, so they change strategies. New indicators, new frameworks, new rules. But phase 1 is not about finding the perfect system. It's about repetition. Enough repetition that any sound system becomes familiar enough to stop draining mental energy. Most traders never leave phase 1 because they keep resetting the repetition counter. Every system change feels like progress, but neurologically, it's a restart. They don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they mistake discomfort for a signal to change course. Phase 1 only ends one way, by staying long enough for repetition to turn rules into recognition. Phase 2 is where discipline finally appears. But discipline as effort, not instinct, not ease, effort. Setup recognition is now automatic. You see it instantly. No more searching, no more scanning. The pattern jumps out at you. But execution still requires conscious override. You feel the hesitation and act anyway. I see the fear. I feel the doubt. I execute regardless. You're managing yourself constantly. Stay calm. Follow protocol. Don't deviate. Don't revenge trade. Trading now feels like work, productive work, controlled work, but still work. You follow your rules consistently. Your journal improves. Your equity curve stabilizes. Yet you feel the effort of staying aligned. Sessions longer than 4 to 6 hours begin to degrade execution quality. Not suddenly, gradually. Small hesitations, tiny shortcuts, micro justifications. Pattern recognition has migrated. It now lives in automatic systems, the cerebellum. That part works effortlessly. But execution still requires the prefrontal cortex to override the limbic system, to suppress fear, to suppress impulse, to suppress the urge to escape discomfort. There's a gap. What you want to do, exit early, skip the trade, take profit too fast, revenge trade, versus what you should do, follow the rules. You bridge that gap with willpower, and willpower depletes. This is where episode 6 of the Winning Attitude Paradoxes lives. You stop trying to control the market. You learn to control your reaction. You focus energy on what you own. Sphere 1, your behavior, not what you don't control. Sphere 3, the market. You can execute your protocol even when chaos enters. It works. Your consistency transforms. But the cost is invisible. It's exhausting. Observed across traders, 1 to 3 years minimum after leaving phase 1. Long enough to feel competent, long enough to feel stable, but not long enough to feel free. You follow your rules consistently, but you feel yourself forcing it. You manage fear successfully, but you feel the management happening. After 5 or 6 hours, willpower starts cracking. Discipline is reliable, but it requires constant energy expenditure. You don't collapse immediately. You slowly degrade. Most traders believe phase 2 is professional trading. They achieve disciplined execution and assume they've arrived. But they haven't. They mistake control for mastery. They don't realize professional traders operate from a different mechanism. Not better discipline. Something else entirely. Here's what makes phase 2 incomplete. It doesn't scale. You can maintain disciplined execution for 4 to 6 hours. Professional traders? They operate 8, 10, sometimes 12-hour sessions during volatility, without collapse, without degradation, without burning willpower to ash. Not because they're tougher, not because they're more disciplined, but because they're no longer in phase 2. They crossed into phase 3, and phase 3 works differently. Phase 3 is where most traders never go. Not because it's impossible, but because most never realize it exists. They reach consistent discipline in phase 2 and stop. They feel controlled, stable, competent, and they assume they've arrived. But traders who sustain performance for decades, they all crossed into phase 3. From the outside, it's subtle, almost unimpressive. Execution happens without visible effort. They trade 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours and finish the session looking normal. Not drained, not wired, not relieved, just done. When you ask them, how do you maintain discipline? They pause, look confused, and say things like, I don't maintain it. It just happens. I don't feel like I'm deciding anymore. I'm just executing. It's like watching myself trade instead of actively trading. There's no visible control happening, no self-talk, no regulation rituals, no internal policing, just action. Rules aren't being followed. Rules are them. The shift is simple but profound. Phase 1 sounds like this. What's my setup? Check criteria. Decide. Execute. Phase 2 sounds like this. See setup. Feel fear. Override fear. Execute. Phase 3 sounds like this. See setup. Execute. The middle steps disappear, not because they got better at control, but because the control layer vanished entirely. There's no gap left to bridge, no impulse to override, no fear to manage. The action originates from a deeper system. Ed Seykota, when asked about decision-making, said, I don't decide, I respond. Linda Raschke on discipline. On my best days, I don't feel like I'm there. Paul Tudor Jones on entries. When I see it, I just do it. There's no gap. These aren't metaphors. They're descriptions of a different operational state, a state where execution no longer requires supervision. To reach Phase 3 takes time, 3 years minimum, often more. Not because it's technically complex, but because the nervous system changes slowly, especially under uncertainty. Here's what Phase 3 is not. It's not more discipline. It's not stronger emotional control. It's not trying harder. It's not caring less. And it's not something you can force. Phase 3 emerges only after you've lived in Phase 2 long enough. After willpower has been exhausted so many times that the brain stops relying on it. Mark Douglas spent 15 years observing traders in this state. He called it the zone. Even he struggled to explain what exactly changed, because nothing new was added. What changed was what disappeared. The need to control. The need to manage. The need to intervene. Execution moved from effort to integration. Phase 3 isn't achieved. It's crossed. You don't train into it directly. You grow out of Phase 2. You cannot manufacture it. You cannot shortcut it. You cannot skip the discomfort. All you can do is create the conditions where it emerges naturally. And once it does, trading stops feeling heavy. Not because the market changed, but because there's nothing left inside you that needs to fight it. So here's the map. Phase 1, learning the mechanics, 6 to 12 months. Phase 2, controlling yourself through effort, 1 to 3 years. Phase 3, effortless execution, reached only after living long enough in Phase 2. If you're watching this video, if you've been following the winning attitude paradoxes, you're likely in Phase 2 or transitioning into it. You've learned to control your reactions, manage emotions, execute despite resistance. That's massive. Most traders never escape Phase 1. But now you know something most never realize. There is a Phase 3. And simply knowing it exists changes everything. Not because you can rush toward it. You can't. But because you stop interpreting Phase 2 exhaustion as a sign that something is wrong. The effort you feel? That's Phase 2. The sense that discipline feels like hard work? That's Phase 2. The mental fatigue after 5 hours of execution? That's Phase 2. You're not broken. You're exactly where you should be. But there is something beyond Phase 2. A transition that happens after enough time living inside disciplined execution. And that transition, that's what Episode 7 of the Winning Attitude Paradoxes reveals. Not the transformation itself. You can't explain transformation in a video. But what creates the conditions for it? What you do inside Phase 2 that allows Phase 3 to emerge naturally. This video mapped the territory. Episode 7 shows you the passage. If you're in Phase 2 right now, wondering, is this it? Is effort forever? The answer is no. But the path forward isn't more discipline. It's something else. The link to the series is in the description. Episode 7, The Final Transformation. Watch it when you're ready to understand what lies beyond control.